Han Ji-woo walked through the corridors of Sentinel's Rest with a slight limp. His left leg still hurt from the accident 3 weeks ago. A cargo container had fallen during unloading, and he had pushed a crew member out of the way just in time. The crew member was fine. Ji-woo got a crushed leg and a medical order for light duty. Light duty meant boring work. He had spent the last 2 weeks checking identification cards at the station entrance and filing reports about minor maintenance issues. It was mind-numbing, but at least it was safe. After 6 years of security work on various human outposts, safe felt like a welcome change. The message from Commander Park Min-ha had surprised him that morning. Report to her office immediately. Personal assignment. When a commander used the word personal, it usually meant something strange was about to happen. Ji-woo pressed the door chime and waited. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Commander Park sat behind her desk, her fingers dancing across a holographic display. She was a woman in her mid-40s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had run the diplomatic wing of Sentinel's Rest for 8 years and had a reputation for handling impossible situations with calm efficiency. "Corporal Han, sit down," she said, without looking up. Ji-woo sat in the chair across from her desk. He waited. Park finally looked at him and swiped the display away. "How's your leg?" "Better, ma'am. Still hurts when I walk too much. But the doctor says another month, and I'll be cleared for regular duty." "Good. I have an assignment for you. 3 days. Easy work. Perfect for someone on light duty." Ji-woo felt suspicious. In his experience, when commanders said something was easy, it usually wasn't. "What kind of assignment, ma'am?" Park leaned back in her chair. "The Galactic Council has requested our assistance. A diplomatic matter. There's an alien visitor who needs to leave the station for urgent business. She has 3 offspring with her. Young ones. Hatchlings. She needs someone to watch them while she's away." Ji-woo blinked. "You want me to babysit aliens?" "Essentially, yes. The species is listed as Category 5 in the database. Harmless herbivores. The hatchlings are young, probably equivalent to human toddlers. They need supervision, food, and basic care. 3 days. That's all." "Why me?" Park smiled slightly. "Because you're patient, responsible, and currently on light duty. Also, because you're human. The council specifically requested a human caretaker. Something about humans being adaptable and good with children. According to their records, Ji-woo wasn't sure how to feel about that. Humans had only joined the Galactic Council 40 years ago. They were still the new species in a galaxy full of civilizations that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. The fact that aliens thought humans were good babysitters was both flattering and weird. What about the mother? Why can't she take them with her? The business she's handling is sensitive. Adult matters. Not suitable for young ones. She asked the council for help, and the council asked us. We're a neutral station. It makes sense. Ji-woo thought about it. 3 days of watching alien children. It had to be better than checking ID cards. "Okay, ma'am. I'll do it." "Excellent. Report to Habitat Module 7 in 1 hour. I'll send you the care instructions and dietary requirements. The mother will brief you personally before she leaves." Ji-woo stood up, wincing as his leg protested. "Just one question, ma'am. What species are they?" Park looked at her display and frowned slightly. "The file is heavily redacted. Standard Council privacy protocols. It just says Category 5 herbivores. Small, docile, no defensive capabilities. Nothing to worry about." That should have been Ji-woo's first warning. In his 6 years of security work, he had learned that when files were redacted, there was usually a good reason. An hour later, Ji-woo stood outside Habitat Module 7, reading through the care instructions on his datapad. The list was surprisingly short. Feed them 3 times a day. Keep them entertained. Make sure they sleep 8 hours per night. Don't let them wander outside the habitat. Contact medical if they show signs of distress. It seemed simple enough. He pressed the entry button and the door opened. The habitat was large, about the size of a small apartment. The walls were soft blue, and the floor was covered in some kind of cushioned material. There were toys scattered around, holographic projectors showing images of plants and landscapes, and a raised sleeping area in the corner. In the center of the room were 3 creatures. They were beautiful in a strange way. Their bodies were covered in smooth scales that shimmered with different colors when they moved. They had large eyes, dark and curious, and small mouths that looked almost like beaks. They stood on 4 legs, but their front legs looked almost like they could grasp things. Each one was about the size of a large dog, maybe reaching up to Jiwoo's knee. The largest of the 3 noticed Jiwoo first. It made a soft chirping sound and tilted its head to the side. Before Jiwoo could react, a door on the far side of the habitat opened, and someone walked through. She was tall. Very tall. At least 7 feet, maybe more. Her body was covered in the same kind of scales as the hatchlings, but darker, with a pattern that looked almost like armor. She moved with the kind of grace that suggested strength and speed. Her eyes, the same dark color as the hatchlings, fixed on Jiwoo with an intensity that made him want to step back, but he didn't. He straightened his posture and tried to look professional. "You are the caretaker?" Her voice was deep and had a strange, resonant quality, like it was coming from somewhere deep in her chest. "Yes, ma'am. Corporal Han Jiwoo. I'll be watching your children for the next 3 days. Lever. Trow. Lever. Trown. Trown." She studied him for a long moment, then walked closer. Jiwoo forced himself to stand still. She circled him slowly, looking him up and down. He felt like prey, being examined by a predator. Finally, she stopped in front of him. "You are small. Fragile. Can you protect them? If needed?" "Protect them from what, ma'am? The station is secure. We have excellent safety protocols." She made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Everything needs protection, even in safe places. Especially in safe places." Jiwoo didn't know what to say to that. Instead, he looked at the hatchlings. They were watching him with curious eyes. The largest one chirped again and took a step closer. "They are curious about you," the mother said. "They have never seen a human before. Your species is new to them. What should I call them? Do they have names?" "Not yet. Names come later, when they choose their paths. For now, you may call them whatever you wish. I call them first, second, and third, by birth order." Jiwoo looked at the 3 hatchlings. The largest one, first, seemed energetic and bold. The middle one, second, stayed back, watching carefully. The smallest one, third, was making a soft humming sound and looking at Jiwoo with what seemed like affection. "I'll take good care of them," Jiwoo said. The mother placed a large hand on his shoulder. Her claws were retracted, but he could see them beneath the scales. "I believe you will. You smell of kindness. My children will sense this." She knelt down, and the 3 hatchlings rushed to her. She touched each one gently, making soft clicking sounds that they responded to with chirps and hums. Then she stood and walked to the door without looking back. 3 days, she said. I will return. And then she was gone. Jiwoo stood alone with 3 alien hatchlings staring at him. Third made a soft cooing sound and walked over to him, rubbing against his leg like a cat. Jiwoo reached down carefully and touched the smooth scales. They were warm. "Okay," he said softly. "Let's figure this out together." First chirped loudly, and second made a clicking sound. Third just kept humming and pressing against Jiwoo's leg. For the first few hours, everything went smoothly. Jiwoo fed them the prepared food, which looked like purple gel but smelled like flowers. They ate eagerly, making happy sounds. He activated the holographic toys, and they played together, chasing light patterns across the floor. Third stayed close to Jiwoo the whole time, seemingly attached to him already. Ji-woo found himself relaxing. This was easy. The hatchlings were cute, friendly, and harmless. Maybe Commander Park was right. Maybe this really would be simple. Then evening came. First found a holographic projector particularly interesting. The hatchling stood up on its back legs, reaching toward the floating images with its front limbs. Ji-woo smiled, thinking it was adorable. First chirped excitedly and reached higher. Then the chirp changed. It became louder, more intense. The sound waves became visible, rippling through the air. The reinforced viewing panel that separated the habitat from the corridor outside exploded outward in a shower of transparent fragments. Alarms began blaring. Ji-woo threw himself over third, protecting the small hatchling from the debris. First stopped chirping and looked confused. Second phased halfway through the wall before solidifying again, looking terrified. Ji-woo's datapad chirped with an incoming call. Commander Park's face appeared on the screen. Corporal Han, what just happened? We show a containment breach in Habitat 7. Ji-woo looked at the destroyed panel, then at the three hatchlings who were now huddled together looking scared and confused. Ma'am, he said slowly, I think there might be an issue with the file information. These hatchlings might not be completely harmless. Park's expression remained neutral, but Ji-woo could see concern in her eyes. Can you contain the situation? Ji-woo looked at Third, who was now making sad whimpering sounds. First and Second were also distressed, their scales flickering with different colors. Yes, ma'am, but I'm going to need more information about what I'm actually dealing with here. Understood. I'll see what I can access. Park out. The call ended, and Ji-woo sat down on the cushioned floor. The three hatchlings immediately came to him, pressing against him and making soft sounds. They weren't trying to be destructive. They were just children who didn't understand their own abilities yet. Ji-woo wrapped his arms around them as best he could. It's okay, he whispered. We'll figure this out. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. Third hummed softly and closed its eyes. First and Second settled down, their breathing slowing, as Ji-woo sat there with three incredibly powerful alien children depending on him. He realized this assignment was going to be anything but easy. But he had made a promise to their mother. He would keep them safe, even if he had no idea what he was actually dealing with. The next morning started with a disaster. Ji-woo woke up on the floor of the habitat with Third sleeping on his chest. First and Second were curled up against his sides. Sometime during the night, he had given up trying to sleep in the designated rest area and had just laid down on the soft floor with the hatchlings. They seemed to sleep better when he was close. His datapad chirped. Morning feeding time. Ji-woo carefully moved. Third off his chest and stood up. His leg hurt from sleeping on the floor, but he ignored it. The hatchlings woke immediately, chirping and humming for food. He smiled despite his exhaustion. They were like any kids, hungry the moment they opened their eyes. He went to the food dispenser and prepared 3 portions of the purple gel. The hatchlings crowded around him, excited and impatient. Third kept rubbing against his legs. Okay, give me a second, Ji-woo said with a laugh. He set down the first bowl for Second, who immediately began eating. He set down the second bowl for First. That's when things went wrong. Third, apparently jealous that the others got food first, began making a sad, crying sound. Ji-woo turned to comfort the small hatchling, but then he noticed something strange. The floor beneath Third was smoking. What the cushioned floor began to melt. A clear liquid was dripping from Third's body, and everywhere it touched, material dissolved. The smoke got thicker, and an alarm began beeping. Chemical hazard detected. Ji-woo grabbed Third and lifted the hatchling away from the melting floor. The crying stopped immediately, and so did the liquid secretion. Third looked up at Ji-woo with big, innocent eyes and made a happy humming sound. Right, Ji-woo said weakly. You cry acid. That's not in the file either. He quickly set down Third's food bowl, and the small hatchling began eating happily, completely unaware of the smoking hole in the floor. Jiwoo's datapad chirped again. Commander Park was calling. Corporal Han. We're detecting chemical warnings from Habitat 7. Status report. Jiwoo looked at the hole in the floor, then at Third, who was contentedly eating breakfast. Everything is under control, ma'am. Just a minor incident. One of the hatchlings secretes a corrosive substance when upset. There was a long pause. Corrosive substance. From a Category 5 herbivore. Common clues. Common clues. Common clues. Common clues. Common clues. Common clues. Yes, ma'am. I have it handled. The hatchling is calm now. I'm sending a maintenance team to assess the damage. With respect, ma'am, I don't think that's a good idea. The hatchlings are still adjusting. New people might upset them, and if they get upset, well. He looked at the melted floor. Another pause. Understood. Let me know if you need anything. Park out. Jiwoo sat down and watched the 3 hatchlings eat. First could create sonic attacks. Second could phase through solid matter. Third could melt titanium with acid tears. These were not harmless herbivores. These were living weapons. But they were also just children who didn't know how to control their abilities. After breakfast, Jiwoo decided to try an experiment. He sat down with the hatchlings and started talking to them like they could understand. Okay, so here's the situation. You 3 are incredibly strong, and you can do things that probably scare the adults around here. But I don't think you're trying to cause problems. I think you just don't know your own strength yet. First tilted its head to one side, listening. Second, watched quietly. Third, climbed into Jiwoo's lap. So how about we play some games? Fun games that help you learn control. Would you like that? And First chirped excitedly. That was a yes. For the rest of the morning, Jiwoo worked with First. He discovered that the hatchling made different sounds based on emotion. Excited, chirps created sonic pulses. But when First was calm and happy, the chirps were quiet and harmless. So Jiwoo taught First to hum instead of chirp when excited. It took patience. First destroyed 2 more panels and cracked a wall before starting to understand. But slowly, the hatchling learned. Excited meant hum softly. Very excited meant hum a little louder. Only chirp loudly when danger was present. With Second, the challenge was different. The hatchling phased through walls when scared. So Jiwoo worked on building trust. He sat with Second for over an hour, just being calm and quiet. He let Second sniff his hand and get used to his presence. Eventually, Second stayed solid, even when Jiwoo moved suddenly or made loud noises. Third was the easiest and hardest at the same time. The small hatchling only cried acid when genuinely sad or feeling ignored. So Jiwoo made sure to give Third plenty of attention. He carried Third around while working with the others. He talked to Third constantly. And Third stopped crying altogether. By midday, Jiwoo was exhausted, but proud. The hatchlings were learning. They were smart. Much smarter than the file suggested. That's when Dr. Kim Yuna arrived at the habitat door. Jiwoo recognized her from the station cafeteria. She was the head of xenobiology research. A woman in her 30s with curious eyes and a reputation for being brilliant. She was also known for being stubborn about solving mysteries. Corporal Han, she called through the intercom. May I come in? Commander Park told me about the incidents. I'm curious about your charges. Jiwoo looked at the hatchlings. They seemed calm. The door opened, and Yuna stepped inside. She wore a clean lab coat and carried a scanner. The hatchlings immediately reacted. First stood up and made a low humming sound. Second, moved behind Jiwoo. Third, climbed onto his shoulder. Remarkable, Yuna whispered. They see you as protection, as family. We've been bonding, Jiwoo said. They're good kids, just powerful. Yuna slowly knelt down and held out her hand. First approached cautiously and sniffed. After a moment, The hatchling made a soft, accepting sound. May I scan them? Non-invasive, just basic readings. Ji-woo nodded. Guys, this is Dr. Yuna. She's a friend. She wants to learn about you. Is that okay? First chirped softly, which Ji-woo now recognized as agreement. Second came out from behind him. Third stayed on his shoulder, but didn't seem distressed. Yuna spent the next hour scanning the hatchlings and taking notes. Her expression grew more confused with each reading. Finally, she stood up and looked at Ji-woo. These are not Category 5 herbivores. I figured that out when one of them melted through titanium flooring. No, you don't understand. According to my scans, these hatchlings have biological capabilities consistent with apex predator species. Their cellular structure suggests they can adapt to almost any environment. Their neural development is far beyond what the file indicates, and their genetic markers. She paused, looking at her scanner like it had offended her. I can't identify their species. The database has nothing that matches. Ji-woo felt a cold sensation in his stomach. What does that mean? It means someone deliberately misfiled them. Or, the information is classified at a level I don't have access to. Can you find out more? Yuna nodded slowly. I can try. I have some contacts in the Galactic Council's biological archives. But Corporal Han, if someone went to this much trouble to hide what these hatchlings really are, there's a reason, and it might not be a good one. After Yuna left, Ji-woo sat with the hatchlings and thought. Someone had lied about what they were. Their mother had left them at a human station specifically. She had said humans were adaptable and good with children. But maybe she had meant something else. Maybe she had chosen humans because humans wouldn't immediately recognize what her children were. That evening, Ji-woo's datapad chirped with a priority alert. Security Chief Lee Tae-won wanted to speak with him. Immediately. The conversation happened over video call. Tae-won was a man in his 50s, former military, with a face like carved stone. Corporal Han. I've read the incident reports. 3 containment breaches, 1 chemical hazard, and structural damage to Habitat 7. These creatures are dangerous. With respect, sir, they're children. They don't mean to cause damage. They're learning control. I don't care what they mean to do. I care about station safety. I want those things sedated and placed in secure containment until their mother returns. Ji-woo felt anger rising in his chest. They're not things. They're children. And sedating them without their mother's permission would be a violation of Galactic Council protocols. Then we get permission from the Council. Do you really think the Council will approve that? These hatchlings were placed in our care. We're responsible for them. If we sedate them, we're saying we can't handle the job. That reflects badly on the entire human delegation. Taewon's expression didn't change, but Ji-woo could see him considering the political implications. Fine. You have until the mother returns. But one more major incident, and I'm overruling Commander Park. Understood? Understood, sir. The call ended, and Ji-woo let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Third, sensing his stress, made a comforting humming sound, and pressed against him. Thanks, little one. I needed that. Late that night, after the hatchlings were asleep, Ji-woo received a message from Dr. Yuna. It was marked urgent and encrypted. He opened it and read, Corporal Han. I found something. I accessed restricted council archives through a contact. The hatchlings' genetic markers match one known species in the database. But the file is heavily classified. I only got fragments. What I found scared me. There are references to a military conquest, to destroyed fleets, to something called the Krillax Dominion. And one name keeps appearing. Queen Verath. I'm sending you what I found. Be careful. Attached to the message were several files. Ji-woo opened the first one. It was a military report. From 15 years ago. Heavily redacted. The parts he could read made his blood run cold. Entire pirate armada destroyed. No survivors. Single ship. Commanded by Vareth. Recommendation: avoid all contact. Diplomatic status: approach with extreme caution. Threat level: catastrophic. Another file showed an image, partially corrupted. A tall figure, covered in dark scales, standing on what looked like the bridge of a warship. The caption read, Queen Varath of the Krillax Dominion, also known as the Dread Queen, responsible for the pacification of 12 star systems. Ji-Woo looked at the sleeping hatchlings. First, was making soft humming sounds in sleep. Second, was curled into a ball. Third, was pressed against his leg. These were the children of the galaxy's most feared warrior queen, and he had been calling them cute nicknames and teaching them games. Ji-Woo started laughing. He couldn't help it. The absurdity of the situation hit him all at once. The most dangerous being in known space had left her children with him, a human corporal on light duty because of a crushed leg. Third woke up and looked at him with confused eyes. Ji-Woo scratched behind the hatchling's head crest. It's okay, little one. I'm still going to take care of you. I made a promise to your mother. Even if your mother could probably destroy this entire station with one hand. Third made a happy humming sound and went back to sleep. Ji-Woo looked at the corrupted image of Queen Varath again. Somewhere out in space, she was handling urgent business. He wondered what kind of business required the attention of someone called the Dread Queen. Then he decided he didn't want to know. What he did know was that in 3 days she would return. And he needed to make sure her children were safe, happy, and well cared for when she arrived. Because if Queen Varath came back and found her children mistreated, Ji-Woo had a feeling that the entire Galactic Council wouldn't be able to protect them. He settled down on the floor next to the hatchlings and closed his eyes. 2 more days. The second day began with Ji-Woo waking up to find Dr. Yuna sitting outside the habitat, staring at her datapad with an expression of horror. He carefully extracted himself from the pile of sleeping hatchlings and went to the door. Through the transparent section that hadn't been destroyed, he could see Yuna's pale face. What did you find? He asked, through the intercom. She looked up at him. You need to see this. Can you come out? Just for a few minutes? Ji-Woo looked back at the hatchlings. They were still asleep, looking peaceful and harmless. He had maybe 10 minutes before they woke up hungry. Okay, but if they wake up, I need to go back in immediately. The door slid open just enough for him to slip through, then closed behind him. Yuna grabbed his arm and pulled him down the corridor to a small observation room. I spent all night digging through restricted files, she said, her words coming fast. I broke about 15 different regulations. But I had to know. Ji-Woo, do you understand what you're taking care of in there? The children of someone called Queen Varath. The Dread Queen. I read your files. Those files were just fragments. I found more. So much more. She pulled up a holographic display, and images filled the air between them. The first image showed a star system. Beautiful planets orbiting a bright sun. This is the Kalthara system. 15 years ago, it was controlled by the largest pirate confederation in known space. The Kalthara pirates raided over 300 worlds. They had a fleet of 2,000 ships. The Galactic Council tried to stop them for decades, and failed. The image changed. Now it showed wreckage. Thousands of destroyed ships floating in space. Queen Varath arrived at Kalthara with 6 ships. Just 6. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, the entire pirate fleet was gone. 2,000 ships destroyed. Varath didn't lose a single vessel. Ji-Woo stared at the destruction. How is that possible? Because her ships aren't normal ships. They're alive. Biological vessels grown and controlled through some technology we don't understand. And Varath herself. Yuna pulled up another image. This one was clearer than the corrupted file from before. It showed Queen Varath standing on a battlefield. Bodies of armored soldiers lay around her. She was covered in blood that wasn't hers. In her hand was a weapon that looked like it had been grown from bone. She's personally responsible for ending 17 separate conflicts. She's destroyed warlords, criminal empires, and even a few legitimate governments that she deemed corrupt. The Galactic Council is terrified of her, but they can't do anything because technically, she's never broken any laws. She only attacks those who attack her first or threaten innocent populations. So, she's a hero? Jiwoo asked. Yuna shook her head. Heroes don't make entire civilizations surrender by just appearing in orbit. Heroes don't have titles like the Dread Queen, the Blood Empress, or the Mother of Graves. She's something else. Something beyond our understanding of morality. Jiwoo thought about the tall, intimidating figure who had touched her children so gently. She's a mother. That's what she is. Everything else is what she does. Yuna looked at him like he was crazy. You're not scared? Of course I'm scared. But those hatchlings in there are just children. They didn't ask to be born to the most dangerous being in the galaxy. They're learning to control their abilities. They're sweet and curious and they get excited about holographic toys. I can't treat them like threats, just because of who their mother is. Before Yuna could respond, an alarm sounded from Jiwoo's datapad. The hatchlings were awake. He rushed back to the habitat. Through the door, he could see all 3 hatchlings standing in the center of the room, making distressed sounds. They were looking around frantically. The moment Jiwoo entered, they rushed to him. Third climbed up his leg and onto his shoulder. First and second pressed against his sides, making worried humming sounds. I'm here. It's okay. I just stepped out for a minute. The hatchlings calmed down immediately. Jiwoo realized with a mix of warmth and concern that they had completely bonded to him. In their eyes, he wasn't just a caretaker. He was family. After feeding them breakfast, Jiwoo continued their training. First was getting much better at controlling the sonic abilities. The hatchling could now make 3 distinct sounds. A soft hum for happiness, a louder musical tone for excitement, and a sharp chirp for warning. The destructive sonic pulse only came out when first was genuinely scared. Second had learned to stay solid most of the time. The phasing only happened now during sleep or when startled. Jiwoo was working on helping the hatchling feel more secure. Third had stopped crying acid entirely. As long as Jiwoo was nearby and gave regular attention, Third was the happiest creature in the galaxy. By midday, Jiwoo felt confident enough to try something new. He activated one of the holographic programs and created a simple obstacle course. Gentle ramps. Soft barriers. Nothing dangerous. Okay guys, let's play a game. First one to the end gets extra treats. The hatchlings understood immediately. They loved treats. First hummed excitedly but kept it controlled. Second, focused intensely, staying solid. Third made happy sounds but didn't cry. Ready? Go. The hatchlings raced through the course. First used controlled sonic pulses to jump higher. Second, phased through obstacles, but only when it was clearly intentional. Third, climbed over everything with determination. Jiwoo watched them play and felt proud. These weren't weapons or threats. They were children, learning and growing. That's when the door chimed. Someone wanted to enter. Jiwoo checked the security feed. His heart sank. Standing outside was a woman in expensive diplomatic robes, flanked by 2 armed guards. The woman had sharp features and cold eyes. He accepted the call. Can I help you? I am Ambassador Choi Sujin of the Tholis Consortium, the woman said, in a voice like ice. I am here on official Galactic Council business, regarding the occupants of this habitat. Jiwoo felt the hatchlings press against him. They sensed his tension. What business would that be, Ambassador? I have reason to believe that the creatures in your care were placed here illegally. The Tholis Consortium has filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Council. These creatures must be turned over to Tholis custody immediately pending investigation. I don't think so. They were placed here legally through proper council channels. I have documentation. The ambassador's smile was cold. Documentation that is fraudulent. These are not harmless herbivores. They are Krillax hatchlings, children of the war criminal, Vareth. War criminal? I was told she only fights those who attack first. Propaganda. The Krillax Dominion has violated territorial agreements, and then take it up with the Galactic Council. I'm not handing these children over to you. The ambassador's expression hardened. You are making a mistake, Corporal. The Thalas Consortium has significant influence with the Council. If you refuse to cooperate, there will be consequences. File your complaints. Until Commander Park, or the Council itself, orders me to hand them over. These hatchlings stay with me. The ambassador stared at him for a long moment, then smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Very well. We shall see what the Council has to say. She turned and left. The guards followed. Jiwoo's datapad immediately chirped. Commander Park, Corporal Han, I just received a priority message from the Thalas Consortium. They're claiming you're harboring dangerous creatures illegally. What's going on? The hatchlings are Krillax, ma'am. Children of Queen Verath. The ambassador wants to take them into Thalas custody. The Ram Queen Verath. The Rube? The Robe? The Rube? There was a long silence. Queen Verath. The Queen Verath? Yes, ma'am. Why didn't the file say that? Because someone wanted it hidden. The question is why. He could hear Park taking a deep breath. This is now a major diplomatic situation. I need to contact the Galactic Council directly. Can you maintain custody for now? Yes, ma'am. The hatchlings are safe with me. Good. Don't let anyone in. I'm putting security outside your door. If the ambassador tries anything, you have permission to defend the hatchlings. The call ended, and within minutes, Jiwoo could see 2 human security officers taking position outside the habitat. Dr. Yuna called him an hour later. I heard about the ambassador. Jiwoo. I did some research on the Thalas Consortium. They've been in territorial disputes with the Krillax Dominion for decades. If they get custody of those hatchlings, they'd use them as hostages against Vareth. Exactly, or worse. There are rumors that the Thalas have been trying to develop biological weapons. Krillax genetics would be incredibly valuable to them. Jiwoo looked at the 3 hatchlings. They were playing together, chasing holographic lights, making happy sounds. That's not going to happen, Jiwoo said quietly. What? I said that's not going to happen. These children were left in my care. I made a promise to their mother. I don't care if the Thalas Consortium has influence with the Council. I don't care if this becomes a diplomatic incident. Nobody is taking these hatchlings anywhere. Yuna was quiet for a moment. You know you could be court-martialed for disobeying a council order, right? Then I'll be court-martialed. But I won't let children be used as weapons or hostages. That's not what humans do. He could hear Yuna smile through the connection. You know what? I'll help. Give me a few hours. I'm going to find proof that the ambassador is lying about the legality of the placement. After the call, Jiwoo sat down with the hatchlings. Third immediately climbed into his lap. First and second settled on either side of him. Your mom is coming back tomorrow, he told them softly. Just one more day. I need to keep you safe until then. Can you help me? Can you be good and stay calm, no matter what happens? First made a soft humming sound that Jiwoo interpreted as agreement. Second touched his hand gently with one scaled limb. Third just pressed closer, trusting completely. That evening, Jiwoo received another encrypted message from Dr. Yuna. I found something. The ambassador's complaint is based on falsified territorial claims. The Thalas say Queen Verath violated their space, but the coordinates they provided aren't even in Thalas territory, they're in neutral space. I have proof. I'm sending it to Commander Park and directly to the Galactic Council. This should buy you time. Jiwoo felt relief wash over him. But it was short-lived. His datapad chirped with an emergency alert. Security breach. Unauthorized access attempt at Habitat 7. He jumped to his feet. The hatchlings, sensing danger, immediately moved into a defensive formation. First, scales began to glow. Second, started flickering between solid and phased. Third, moved behind Jiwoo, but was making a low growling sound he'd never heard before. Through the habitat's door camera, Jiwoo could see armed figures in Tholis uniforms trying to override the security locks. He opened a channel to Commander Park. "Ma'am, Tholis forces are trying to break into the habitat. I see them. Security is responding. Hold position. C. Efri. C. What if they get through?" There was a pause. "Defend the hatchlings, Corporal. That's an order." The door locks sparked. The Tholis were using some kind of bypass device. Jiwoo looked at the three hatchlings. They were scared, but they trusted him. They were looking to him for protection. He took a deep breath and stepped in front of them. The door began to slide open. "Listen to me," Jiwoo said to the hatchlings. First hummed softly in acknowledgement. Second solidified completely. Third stayed quiet but alert. The door opened fully, and 4 armed Tholis soldiers entered. "Step aside, human," the lead soldier said. "We have authorization to collect the specimens." "No, you don't." "Show me your council authorization." The soldier raised his weapon. "This is our authorization." Jiwoo didn't move. "Then you'll have to shoot me first." The soldier's finger moved toward the trigger. That's when every alarm in the station started screaming. "Emergency. All personnel to stations. Massive ship detected approaching. Unknown configuration." The soldier's communication device crackled. A panicked voice came through. "All Tholis personnel evacuate immediately. The Bloodthorn has arrived. Queen Verath is here." The color drained from the soldier's face. He and his team turned and ran without another word. Jiwoo looked at the hatchlings. They were making excited sounds, jumping up and down. Their mother had come home early, and from the panic in everyone's voices, she was not happy about what she had found. The station shook. Jiwoo had experienced docking procedures hundreds of times. Ships connected to Sentinel's rest every day, and there was always a small vibration when they locked into place. This was nothing like that. The entire structure trembled, like something massive had grabbed it. His datapad erupted with alerts. "Station-wide emergency. All personnel report to emergency stations. Diplomatic crisis in progress. Non-essential crew evacuate to safe zones." The hatchlings were going wild. They were jumping, chirping, humming, and making sounds Jiwoo had never heard before. But they weren't scared. They were excited, happy. Through the habitat's remaining window, Jiwoo could see crew members running past in a panic. Some were heading toward evacuation pods. Others were running toward security stations. Everyone looked terrified. Commander Park's voice came over the station-wide intercom, and for the first time since Jiwoo had known her, she sounded shaken. "All personnel, remain calm. We have an unscheduled arrival. Queen Verath of the Krillax Dominion has requested permission to board. All security teams, stand down. I repeat, stand down. Do not engage. This is a diplomatic situation." Jiwoo looked at his datapad and pulled up the external camera feeds. What he saw made his breath catch. The ship was enormous. It didn't look like any vessel Jiwoo had ever seen. Instead of metal and clean lines, it was organic. The hull looked like it was made of dark scales, the same kind the hatchlings had. It pulsed with a faint, bioluminescent glow. Parts of it moved, shifting like muscles under skin. It looked alive because it was alive. The Bloodthorn, Queen Verath's flagship. 6 smaller ships surrounded it, each one still larger than most human cruisers. They moved in perfect formation, like a pack of predators. The main ship extended something that looked like a tendril. It reached out and attached to one of the station's docking ports. The connection was gentle despite the ship's size, but the station still shook from the mass. Jiwoo's door chimed. He checked the camera and saw Dr. Yuna standing outside, looking pale but determined. "Let me in," she said. "If Queen Varath is coming for the hatchlings, you shouldn't face her alone." 1. Jiwoo opened the door. Yuna stepped inside and immediately looked at the excited hatchlings. "They're happy," she said with surprise. "They know their mother is here. They've been counting down the hours just like I have." "You're not scared?" Jiwoo thought about that. "I'm terrified, but not of what she'll do to me. I'm scared I didn't do a good enough job. What if she thinks I failed her children?" Yuna looked at him with something like admiration. Most people would be worried about their own survival right now. Most people didn't spend 3 days teaching her kids how to play games and control their abilities. The station intercom crackled again. This time it was a voice Jiwoo didn't recognize. Deep, resonant, powerful. "This is Queen Varath of the Krillax Dominion. I am here to collect my children. I am informed that there has been an attempt to seize them unlawfully. I wish to speak with the one called Han Jiwoo. Immediately." Jiwoo and Yuna exchanged glances. "She knows your name," Yuna whispered. "Of course she does. I'm the one who's been taking care of her kids." His datapad chirped. Commander Park was calling. "Corporal Han, Queen Varath is demanding to see you and the hatchlings. She's on her way to Habitat 7 right now. I'm coming with her." Security Chief Taewon wanted to send armed escorts, but I convinced him that would be suicidal. "Understood, ma'am. We'll be ready." "Jiwoo." Park's voice softened. "Did you take good care of them?" "Yes, ma'am. I did my best." "Then you have nothing to fear." "Probably." Park out. "Probably." That was reassuring. Jiwoo knelt down with the hatchlings. "Okay, guys. Your mother is almost here. I need you to show her what you've learned, okay? Show her that you can control your abilities. Make her proud." First hummed in understanding. Second, stayed perfectly solid. Third, pressed against Jiwoo's chest, making comforting sounds like the small hatchling was trying to reassure him. Footsteps approached in the corridor outside. Heavy footsteps that made the floor shake slightly with each step. The door opened. Queen Varath stood in the doorway, and Jiwoo understood immediately why entire civilizations surrendered at the sight of her. She was even more imposing than he remembered. Her dark scales seemed to absorb light. Her eyes glowed with an inner fire. She wore armor that looked like it had been grown from her own body, covered in patterns that might have been scars or decorations. She carried no visible weapons, but her hands ended in retractable claws that could probably tear through steel. Behind her stood Commander Park, looking small and fragile in comparison. The moment the hatchlings saw their mother, they made sounds of pure joy and rushed toward her. Varath's entire demeanor changed instantly. The terrifying warrior became simply a mother. She knelt down, and her children swarmed over her, chirping and humming and pressing against her. She made soft clicking sounds back to them, touching each one gently, checking them over with obvious concern. Her claws, which could destroy ships, carefully stroked their scales. Then she looked up at Jiwoo. He forced himself to stand straight and meet her eyes. He was terrified, but he wouldn't show it. He had done his job. He had protected her children. "You are Han Jiwoo," Varath said. It wasn't a question. "Yes, Your Majesty." "Do not call me that. I am not your queen. You may call me Varath." She stood, still surrounded by her children. "My offspring appear healthy." Content. "Tell me what happened during my absence." Jiwoo took a deep breath and explained everything. The incidents with their abilities, the training he had provided, the ambassador's attempt to take them, the Thalis soldiers who had tried to break in. As he spoke, Varath's expression grew darker. By the time he mentioned the armed soldiers, her scales were rippling with barely contained rage. "Thalis forces," she said quietly, "attempted to seize my children. Yes, but they failed. I didn't let them through." Varath looked at him with those glowing eyes. "You stood between armed soldiers and my offspring. You, a human with an injured leg and no weapons. Yes, I made a promise to protect them. I keep my promises." Something changed in Varath's expression. The rage remained, but it was joined by something else. Respect. She walked closer to Jiwoo. He could feel the heat radiating from her body. She towered over him. One hand reached out, and Jiwoo forced himself not to flinch. Vareth's hand, large enough to crush his skull, gently touched the top of his head. Her claws were retracted. "You have done well, Han Jiwoo. My children are safe because of you. They have learned control because of you. You treated them not as threats, but as the young ones they are. For this, you have my gratitude. I was just doing my job. No, you went beyond duty. You risked your career, your safety, possibly your life, for children who were not your own. This is not duty. This is honor." Third, who had been watching the exchange, suddenly broke away from the other hatchlings and ran to Jiwoo. The small one climbed up his leg and settled on his shoulder, making protective humming sounds. Vareth watched this with surprise. Then, incredibly, she smiled. It was a terrifying smile, showing teeth that could bite through metal. But it was genuine. "It seems one of my offspring has bonded to you as family. Third has chosen you as pack. This is a great honor among my kind." Jiwoo reached up and gently touched Third, who pressed against his hand. "Third is special. They all are. You gave them names? Not real names, just temporary ones. First, second, third. I didn't think it was my place to give them permanent names. Show me what they have learned." For the next hour, Jiwoo demonstrated the training he had provided. First hummed on command, producing controlled sounds instead of destructive sonic pulses. Second, phased through a wall and back, completely in control. Third, still on Jiwoo's shoulder, showed how the acid secretion had stopped completely. Vareth watched in silence. When the demonstration was complete, she nodded slowly. "They have learned more in 3 days with you than in 3 months with our own trainers. You have a gift, Han Jiwoo. You understand how to teach without force, how to guide without breaking spirit." Commander Park, who had been standing quietly in the background, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I told you not to call me that," Vareth said without looking away from Jiwoo. Park cleared her throat. "Vareth, there is the matter of the Tholis ambassador and her accusations." "Yes." Vareth's voice became cold again. "The ambassador who claimed I violated Tholis territory. The ambassador who sent armed soldiers to kidnap my children. Where is she now? She has barricaded herself in the diplomatic quarters. She's demanding counsel, protection." Vareth's smile was not pleasant. "She will have it. For now. But she will answer for her actions. Not to me. To the Galactic Council. I have already transmitted evidence of her conspiracy to the council chambers. She falsified territorial claims. She attempted to kidnap children under council protection. She violated at least 7 interstellar laws." "How did you know all this was happening?" Jiwoo asked. "You came back early. I have my sources. When I learned that Tholis forces were approaching this station, I knew my children were in danger. I came immediately. The urgent business you had to handle was completed early when those I was negotiating with learned I was eager to return to my offspring. They suddenly became very cooperative." Her smile suggested the negotiations had involved threats of violence. The door chimed again. Security Chief Taewon's voice came through the intercom. "Commander Park, the Galactic Council has just issued a formal decree. Ambassador Choi Soo-jin is being arrested for conspiracy, attempted kidnapping, and falsifying official documents. They're sending a council ship to collect her. They also want to speak with Corporal Han and Queen Vareth." Park looked at Vareth. "What do you want to do?" "I will speak with the council. But first, I wish to discuss something with Han Jiwoo. Alone." Park nodded and left with Dr. Yuna, though Yuna kept looking back with concern. When they were alone, Vareth sat down on the habitat floor. Despite her size, she moved with perfect grace. The hatchlings immediately climbed on her, and she let them, her fierce expression softening again. "Han Jiwoo, sit." Jiwoo sat across from her. "You are aware of my reputation," Vareth said. "Yes." "The Dread Queen." the mother of graves, the warrior who destroyed the Kelthera pirates. And knowing this, you still protected my children. Why? Jiwoo thought carefully before answering. Because children aren't responsible for their parents' actions. And because, honestly, I didn't see the Dread Queen. When I looked at your kids, I just saw 3 young ones who needed someone to care for them. Verath was quiet for a long moment. My people are feared across the galaxy. We are warriors, predators. We have fought and killed to protect our territory and our way of life. This has earned us many enemies. The Tholis are only one among many. I understand. No, you do not. But you will. My children will grow up in a galaxy that fears them, that sees them as monsters before seeing them as individuals. They will need allies, friends, those who see past their heritage. They're good kids. People will see that, perhaps. Or perhaps they will only see what they fear. Verath looked at Third, still perched on Jiwoo's shoulder. I have a proposition for you. Han Jiwoo, how would you like to serve as official liaison between your people and mine? Jiwoo blinked in surprise. I'm just a security corporal. You are a human who risked everything for children who were not his own. You are a teacher who can help my young learn control without breaking their spirit. You are someone my offspring trust. These qualities are far more valuable than rank. I don't know what to say. Say nothing now. Think on it. I will be at council chambers for the next month dealing with the Tholis situation. During this time, I would like you to visit my home world, meet my people, see if you could find a place among us. If you decide against it, there will be no shame. But I believe you could do great good as a bridge between our species. Third made a sad sound, understanding somehow that Jiwoo might leave. Verath touched her smallest child gently. Third has chosen you as pack. If you accept my offer, Third would be permitted to stay with you during your training period, as would the others, if they wish. They could learn from you while you learn from us. Jiwoo looked at the 3 hatchlings. First was watching him hopefully. Second made a soft questioning sound. Third pressed against his neck, making comforting hums. In 3 days, these strange alien children had become important to him. He had taught them, protected them, and somewhere along the way, started to love them. Can I have time to think about it? Of course. I would not expect an answer immediately. This is a life-changing decision. Verath stood, and the hatchlings climbed down from her. She walked to the door, then paused. Han Jiwoo, thank you for caring for my children. You gave them something precious. You gave them safety, kindness, and respect. You treated them as I would wish all beings to treat them. For this, you will always be welcomed as bloodkin in Krillax space. After she left, Jiwoo sat with the 3 hatchlings, his mind racing. A liaison between humans and the Krillax. A chance to help 2 species understand each other. A chance to continue being part of these children's lives. It was terrifying. It was also the most important opportunity he'd ever been offered. Third hummed softly and settled in his lap. First and second pressed against his sides. Whatever he decided, he knew one thing for certain. His life would never be ordinary again. 3 months later, Jiwoo stood on the landing platform of the Krillax homeworld and wondered what his life had become. The sky above was a deep purple, streaked with bioluminescent clouds that pulsed with gentle light. The city around him was unlike anything on Earth. Buildings grew from the ground like living trees, their walls breathing, their windows shifting to optimal positions for light and air. Everything was organic, alive, part of a massive ecosystem that somehow functioned as advanced technology. It was beautiful. Alien, but beautiful. Are you ready? Dr. Yuna asked beside him. She had insisted on coming along as the official xenobiologist observer. Jiwoo suspected she just wanted to see everything up close. I don't think anyone can be ready for this, Jiwoo said. Behind them, the shuttle that had brought them from the human diplomatic vessel was already lifting off. There was no going back now. Not for the next 6 months, at least. That was the duration of his trial period as liaison. Commander Park had approved his transfer with surprising enthusiasm. Security Chief Taewan had been less enthusiastic. But even he admitted that having a human with direct access to Queen Varath could be valuable for Earth's diplomatic interests. Jiwoo had spent the last 3 months preparing, learning the basics of Krillak's language and culture, studying their history, training in diplomatic protocols, but nothing could really prepare him for actually being here. A sound made him turn. 3 shapes were racing across the landing platform toward him. The hatchlings had grown. They were now the size of large dogs, their scales more vibrant, their movements more coordinated. But they were unmistakably the same 3 children he had cared for. Third reached him first, making joyful sounds and rubbing against his legs. First and second arrived a moment later, humming and chirping in greeting. "I missed you too," Jiwoo said, kneeling down to greet them properly. "Look at how big you've gotten." Third made a proud humming sound. First demonstrated the new level of control, producing a complex musical tone that resonated beautifully. Second phased and solidified perfectly, showing off the mastery of the ability. "You've all been practicing. I'm so proud of you." A shadow fell over them. Jiwoo looked up to see Queen Varath approaching. She wore less armor than before, instead dressed in flowing garments that seemed to be woven from living fibers. She looked slightly less terrifying but no less impressive. "Han Jiwoo, Dr. Kim Yuna, welcome to Krillak's Prime." Jiwoo stood and bowed in the manner he'd been taught. "Thank you for having us, Varath. Come, I will show you to your quarters. Then we have much to discuss." They followed Varath through the living city. Everywhere Jiwoo looked, he saw Krillaks going about their lives. They were a diverse species, he realized. Some were large and armored like Varath. Others were smaller, more slender. Some had wings. Some had additional limbs. But all of them stopped to stare at the 2 humans walking through their city. "They are curious," Varath explained. "We have had few human visitors. Your species is still new to us." "Are we welcome here?" Yuna asked carefully. "You are my guests. That makes you welcome. But I will be honest with you. Many of my people are suspicious of outsiders. We have fought too many wars, made too many enemies. Trust does not come easily to us." They arrived at a building that looked like a massive tree. Varath gestured to an opening in the trunk. "Your quarters. They have been prepared for your biology. The temperature, atmosphere, and amenities should be comfortable for humans." Inside, Jiwoo was surprised to find rooms that looked almost normal. There was furniture sized for humans, a food preparation area, and even what looked like entertainment screens. "How did you know what we needed?" he asked. "I researched your species thoroughly. If you are to live among us, you must be comfortable." Third immediately jumped onto the couch and settled down, making it clear that this space would be shared. "Before you settle in," Varath said, "there is something you should know. The Galactic Council has finished their investigation into Ambassador Choi Soo-jin." "What was the verdict?" Jiwoo asked. "Guilty on all charges. She was working with elements within the Tholis military to kidnap my children and use them as leverage against me. She also planned to extract genetic samples for weapons research. The Tholis government has disavowed her completely and offered formal apologies. She will spend the next 20 years in a council detention facility." "Good," Jiwoo said simply. Varath smiled that terrifying smile. "You do not seem surprised. I knew she was lying from the start. Anyone who tries to use children as weapons deserves whatever punishment they get. I mini wan. This attitude is why I chose you, Han Jiwoo. You understand something that many do not. Power without honor is meaningless. Strength without compassion is weakness." Over the next few weeks, Jiwoo settled into his new role. He met with Krillak's leaders, learning about their culture and government. He was surprised to discover that despite Verath's fearsome reputation, her people were not savage warmongers. They were a proud species that valued family, honor, and protection of the innocent above all else. The wars Verath had fought were defensive or punitive against those who threatened the weak. The destroyed pirate fleet at Kelthara had been raiding colonies and enslaving populations. The governments Verath had toppled had been corrupt dictatorships torturing their own people. The galaxy saw Verath as a terrifying warrior. Her own people saw her as a protector. Jiwoo also continued working with the Hatchlings. They now had proper names. Chosen in a ceremony, Jiwoo was honored to attend. First became Vekra, meaning strong voice. Second became Talnus, meaning walker between. Third became Mirn, meaning little heart. The names fit perfectly. Jiwoo taught them more than just control of their abilities. He taught them games from Earth. He told them stories. He helped them understand that strength and kindness were not opposites. In return, they taught him about Krillak's culture, how families functioned, how honor was earned, how even the fiercest warrior could be gentle with those they loved. One evening, Jiwoo sat with Verath on a balcony overlooking the bioluminescent city. The hatchlings were sleeping inside, exhausted from a day of training. "You have done well," Verath said. "My children adore you. My people respect you. You have exceeded my expectations. I'm just trying to learn and help where I can. You are doing more than that. You are showing my people that not all outsiders fear us, that some see us as individuals, not monsters. This is valuable beyond measure." Jiwoo watched the lights pulse across the city. "Can I ask you something? Why did you really choose me? There must have been more qualified diplomats, more experienced caregivers." Verath was quiet for a moment. "Do you know what I saw when I first met you? I saw someone who was injured, but did not complain. Someone who accepted a task others would consider beneath them, without protest. Someone who looked at my children and saw children, not weapons or threats or bargaining tools. I saw someone with a good heart. That seems like a small thing to base such a big decision on. The biggest decisions often come down to the smallest things. I needed someone who would see my people as I see them, as individuals worthy of respect and understanding. Someone who would build bridges instead of walls. You are that person." Han Jiwoo. Over the next months, Jiwoo's role expanded. He helped establish communication protocols between human and Krillak ships. He worked with Dr. Yuna to create cultural exchange programs. He even helped negotiate a trade agreement that benefited both species. But his most important work remained with the children. Vekra, Talnus, and Mirn grew rapidly. They learned to read and write in both Krillak's and human languages. They studied history, science, and philosophy. They trained in combat, as all young Krillaks did, but they also learned diplomacy and compassion. They became something new, children of the Krillaks with an understanding of humanity, bridges between two species, just like Jiwoo. 6 months after arriving on Krillak's Prime, Jiwoo received a message from Commander Park. His trial period was complete. He could return to Sentinel's Rest if he wished, resume his normal security duties. No one would think less of him. Jiwoo sat with the message for a long time, thinking. That evening, he called a meeting with Verath, Dr. Yuna, and the 3 young Krillaks. "I've made my decision," he said. Everyone waited. "I want to stay. Not just for another 6 months. Permanently. I want to continue as liaison between our peoples. I want to help Vekra, Talnus, and Mirn grow into adults who can bridge our worlds. I want to be part of building something better." Verath nodded slowly, her expression pleased. "You are certain? This means leaving your old life behind. Your home. Your career path. I'm certain. This feels right. This feels like where I'm supposed to be." Dr. Yuna smiled. "I'm staying too. There's too much to learn here. Too much potential for cooperation between our species. Besides, Someone needs to make sure you don't accidentally cause a diplomatic incident. Myrn made a happy humming sound and climbed onto Jiwoo's lap. Vecra and Talnus pressed against his sides, making pleased sounds. Then it is settled, Verath said. You are no longer a visiting liaison. You are bloodkin. Family. Welcome home, Han Jiwoo. 2 years later, Jiwoo stood before the Galactic Council chambers. He wore formal diplomatic robes that blended human and Krillax designs. Beside him stood Verath. Behind them stood 3 young Krillax who were no longer hatchlings but adolescents, strong and confident. The council had requested a report on the human Krillax cultural exchange program. Jiwoo was nervous, but Myrn pressed against his side, offering silent support. Ambassador Han Jiwoo, the council speaker said, your report indicates remarkable progress in human Krillax relations. Trade has increased by 40%. Cultural misunderstandings have decreased significantly. And you have personally trained the next generation of Krillax in cross-species diplomacy. How do you explain this success? And Jiwoo thought about his answer carefully. With respect, council speaker, I think the success comes from a simple truth. When you treat others with respect and try to understand them, walls come down. The Krillax aren't monsters. Humans aren't weak. We're just different species trying to find our place in the galaxy. All we needed was someone willing to build a bridge instead of a wall. The council speaker nodded. And what of the future? What are your recommendations? I recommend expanding the program. Send more humans to learn Krillax culture. Invite more Krillax to visit human worlds. The more we interact, the more we understand. Understanding leads to cooperation. Cooperation leads to peace. A simple philosophy, one of the council members said. The best ones usually are, Jiwoo replied. After the meeting, Jiwoo walked with Verath and the young Krillax through the council station's gardens. You did well, Verath said. I just told the truth. The truth is often the hardest thing to speak. You have grown much in 2 years, Han Jiwoo. You arrived at my world as a simple security officer. You leave as an ambassador who commands the respect of the Galactic Council. I had good teachers. 3 of them in particular. He looked at Vecra, Talnus, and Myrn. They taught me that strength comes in many forms, and that the most powerful force in the galaxy isn't weapons or fear. It's understanding. Myrn hummed softly, a sound of pure contentment. Vecra made a complex musical tone that now served as the young Krillax's signature greeting. Talnus flickered between visible and invisible, showing off perfect control. What will you do now? Verath asked. Continue the work. There are other species that fear the Krillax, other barriers to break down, and these 3, he gestured to the young Krillax. They're going to help. They're the proof that the next generation can be different, better. You have changed my children, Verath said quietly. But they have also changed you. When I first met you, you were a cautious person, content with simple duties. Now you speak before the Galactic Council without fear. You plan programs that could change the galaxy. Jiwoo thought about that. I guess I learned something important. Sometimes the galaxy doesn't need more warriors or more weapons. Sometimes it just needs someone willing to babysit some alien kids and see them for who they really are. Everything else grew from that one simple choice. Verath laughed, a deep, resonant sound that no longer frightened Jiwoo. The Dread Queen's children, reduced to a babysitting job. If my enemies knew that was how our alliance began, they would not believe it. Round work. Then let's not tell them, Jiwoo said with a smile. Let them think it was complex diplomacy and strategic negotiations. It sounds better than, I taught your kids to play games and not melt through the floor when upset. That evening, Jiwoo sat in his quarters writing a message to Commander Park. He told her everything. The successes, the challenges, the plans for the future. He thanked her for taking a chance on a simple security corporal with a crushed leg. He ended the message with a simple line. Turns out babysitting alien hatchlings was the best assignment I ever received. Myrn was curled up beside him, humming softly in sleep. Through the window, he could see Krillax Prime's bioluminescent lights dancing across the sky. Jiwoo thought about his old life. Checking ID cards, filing maintenance reports. Simple, safe, boring. He didn't miss it at all. Because he had learned something important during those 3 chaotic days on Sentinel's Rest. Sometimes, the smallest assignments lead to the biggest adventures. Sometimes the most terrifying situations reveal the greatest truths. And sometimes, the galaxy just needs someone willing to see past fear and prejudice to the individuals underneath. He had been assigned to babysit harmless alien hatchlings. He had discovered they were the children of the galaxy's most feared queen. And in doing so, he had found his true purpose. Not bad for a simple babysitting job. Myrn stirred in sleep. Pressing closer to Jiwoo, he gently stroked the young Krillax's scales, thinking about how far they had all come. 3 years ago, he had been a security officer with a crushed leg, assigned to light duty. Now he was Ambassador Han Jiwoo, bloodkin to the Krillax, teacher to the next generation, and builder of bridges between species, all because he had chosen to see 3 powerful alien children as what they truly were. Just kids who needed someone to care. And that, Jiwoo thought as he drifted off to sleep, made all the difference.